Those fumes from the heated superglue adhere to the body and the latent fingerprints. Then what we try to do is take magnetic powder, which is a special type of fingerprint powder, and we start to process the body, searching for any kind of indication that the print may exist.
It was a night like any other in Fort Worth, Texas, until a frantic 911 call shattered the calm. A man reported his wife had been shot. Police raced to the scene, unaware that this single moment would unravel a web of lies, forensic puzzles, and a shocking truth hidden behind the walls of a quiet home. What really happened that night? Was it suicide or something far more sinister? Across the country, in Columbus, Ohio, a different nightmare was unfolding. November 7, 2001, a vacant lot south of downtown became the stage of a chilling discovery. Richard Middleton stumbled upon the nude body of a 29-year-old woman tangled in overgrown weeds. She was later identified as Tina Baxter, a woman trying to escape the grip of addiction, drifting from place to place, job to job. Columbus was considered a city with relatively low violent crime, yet Tina's death would shake the community. Crime scene investigators worked meticulously. Her body bore ligature marks on the neck. She had been strangled. Her undergarments were pulled down, and bruises covered her body. A single black and white tennis shoe lay nearby. Detectives Ronald Jester and his team faced an uphill battle. There was no weapon, no ID.
Well, we had very little forensic evidence at the scene. There was no weapon, nothing to indicate who she may have been with, where she had been. We found no identification of her. There's no way of tracing her to any particular spot or anything. None of the things that you hope you find that will give you a direction to begin to look for a suspect.
And no witnesses who could place anyone suspicious at the scene. Even neighbors' reports of screaming were dismissed as children playing. Every lead seemed to vanish into thin air.
He had blunt trauma, which means she had been beaten throughout the body, arms, and legs. She had also been strangled, which was the actual cause of her death.
Forensic analysis began to piece together the horror. Dr. Brad Lewis, Franklin County coroner, confirmed blunt force trauma and strangulation as Tina's cause of death. Evidence of sexual assault emerged through DNA testing, collected carefully from her body and under her fingernails. Yet investigators had no suspect. Tina's brother revealed her struggle with drugs, a life marked by short-term jobs and temporary addresses. Visits to local bars produced no answers. Her world seemed fragmented, her killers invisible. 11 days later, a construction worker discovered another body, a young woman named Kathy Henderson, just a few hundred feet from where Tina was found. She too had been sexually assaulted. Distinct bruising on her arms suggested a struggle. Investigators faced a terrifying realization.
Evidence at the scene.
Marks on her legs looks like she put up some sort of a struggle, and whoever took her clothes off of her had to fight with her to get her.
A serial killer was active, preying on vulnerable women in South Columbus. The forensic team took a rare and difficult approach, attempting to lift fingerprints from the victims' bodies using cyanoacrylate fumes and magnetic powders. While bruises on Henderson's arms yielded no prints, a palm print on her thigh gave the first solid lead, even though palm prints are rarely cataloged in databases. Police identified Kathy Henderson and confirmed links to Tina Baxter through DNA evidence. Tire tracks near the second scene suggested the killer drove a pickup truck. Investigators narrowed their focus to a local man.
Getting prints off human skin is remote. There's only been about 75 to 80 documented cases in the nation where prints have actually been taken off of bodies.
Christian Fuhr, who worked for a tree trimming company. Surveillance and witness reports eventually tied him to the vehicle scene near the crime scene. Through tire tread analysis, palm prints, and DNA, Fuhr's guilt was undeniable. He lured victims with promises of drugs, then escalated to lethal violence. Without a confession, the forensic evidence alone ensured justice.
During the initial stages of the investigation, being aware that his truck was, in fact, within 50 feet of where the body was found, and he denied being in that area, we knew immediately that he was lying to us.
On November 28, 2001, Christian Fuhr was arrested for 3 counts of murder. He later pled guilty, receiving 3 consecutive life sentences without parole. Half a decade earlier, in Fort Worth, Texas, another death presented a different challenge.
I'm sorry, but I have no other choice but to charge you with the murder.
Bonnie Hornick was found shot in her bedroom on March 14, 1995. Her husband, Warren Hornick, a former police officer, called 911 in a panic. At first glance, the scene suggested suicide. No signs of forced entry, a gun near the bed, and Bonnie lying motionless. Detectives J.D. Roberts and Jim Varnon faced ambiguity. The angle of the bullet seemed consistent with a self-inflicted wound, but there were inconsistencies. No gunpowder residue was found on Bonnie's hands.
The projectile had gone completely through her, through the mattress, through the springs, and had damaged the carpet under the bed.
The pillowcase around her neck was tightly wrapped, and Warren had blood on his shirt. Her family refused to believe it was suicide, citing his history of violence and heavy drinking. Attorney Mike Ware enlisted Dr. Tom Bevill, an expert in blood spatter analysis, to investigate. By recreating gunshot scenarios,
He had been drinking, and he was belligerent towards the officers, and not really cooperative.
Dr. Bevill compared the bloodstains on Warren Hornick's shirt with controlled experiments. The droplets' characteristics, high velocity, uniform size, consistent with back spatter from a gunshot, indicated Warren was in extremely close proximity when Bonnie was shot. This evidence, combined with Bonnie's plans for a business trip the next morning and her mental state,
During the investigation of this death of Bonnie Hornick, it appears that the crime scene had been tampered with. Since no projectile was found, her hands apparently had been wiped clean because there was no blood on her hand.
contradicted the suicide theory. She had no reason to end her life. The grand jury accepted this forensic analysis. In March 1996, Warren Hornick was arrested and charged with the murder of his wife. From Columbus to Fort Worth, these cases reveal the fine line investigators walk between circumstantial evidence and definitive proof.
No gunshot residue found on the hands of the decedent doesn't mean much to us because not all guns emit gunpowder residue when they're fired.
Serial killers like Christian Fuhr leave behind patterns, yet victims are often isolated and vulnerable. Cases like Bonnie Hornick's show that appearances can be deceiving. Suicide may mask homicide, and careful forensic analysis can uncover the truth. For every solved murder,
the bloodstains on Warren Hornick's shirt consisted of small to medium-sized blood droplets, which would be consistent with blood from a gunshot wound, or also equally consistent with expirated blood that might have come perhaps from Bonnie Hornick's chest wound while he was doing CPR on her.
there are countless unanswered questions and families desperate for closure. These stories remind us that even in seemingly ordinary cities, darkness can lurk just beneath the surface. The work of dedicated investigators, forensic scientists, and brave witnesses is what brings justice to light, piece by piece, clue by clue.